Today we're having a conversation about Father's Day. Father's Day is a day where dads are celebrated all around the world. But does that appear to all those who were brought up in a single parent home? So today I'm joined by Sally, who is one of that kind, and I'm joined by family psychologist Venus Chengo. Karibuni sana. So when I come to you, Sally, tell us your experience on growing up in a single parent household.
My parents divorced when I was 11, 12. And at that particular time, I did not understand what was going on, but I was pretty much observant. And I knew one or two things were not okay at home. So when my parents divorced, it was not really a shock. And immediately after, I was taken to boarding school, and everything just changed from having events where two parents attend to one parent attending. And in as much as I did not understand at the time, I could tell that things were not okay and it felt awkward. But going on in life, I just got used to the fact that one parent would be there for me. Yeah.
And how did you cope up?
I used to read a lot of books. I would just bury myself in fictional books, and I would also write during my free time. I would like to keep myself preoccupied because, for example, like I've said, I went to boarding school and we would have functions like visiting day, and either a parent would show up or not, and I would just try to preoccupy myself in the best way I knew how. And being at that age, it was kind of a new experience all over again, because you're used to having both parents, and now you're looking up to one parent. Yeah.
When I come to you, Venus, you've heard her story.
Yeah.
Can you please help us put this into context? Yeah.
When we talk about fathers and we talk about, family, there are rules and roles. There's the role that a father plays, there's the role a mother plays. But when it comes to the hierarchy, there's God, there's the father and the mother. And the Bible brings it out very clearly. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Already God has said it. Now, the next verse that follows says, and wives, be submissive to your husband. So it shows that when a husband plays his role, submission follows from the woman. When a father does not play his role, then the opposite is also inevitable, because the wife becomes rebellious. Now, when that role is not brought out very well, frustration will, of course, come into the home. Maybe the woman will feel like they're not cared of, they're not, because, a woman is an emotional being. They crave for attention. So when things are not working, they will also show it through their emotions. Yeah. Now, the only problem that I have, and going through, having been, in several therapy rooms and listening to people share their experiences, fathers don't bring out that caring arm. So the perception is, oh, umefura. Fura mpaka ulipuke. In the meantime, I'll go to the bar with my boys. I'll catch up with you later. So this lady is left abandoned in the home. The husband goes, the father goes out there, has his own fun. She doesn't know who to talk to. And eventually you find that there's no synchrony in the house. All right? Now, who suffers? Tunaambiwangwa in Swahili, farasi wawili wakipigana, nyasi ndio umia. The kids are the ones who suffer. Let me tell you, with every rejection that, a father will give to his wife or to his, there's always a repercussion that follows suit. Now, a child will observe and say, just like the way you said it, I could notice that, things were not working. So something was already happening to you, and you're thinking, is this what marriage is all about? I'd rather stay single. Kama hivi ndio itakuanga, I'd rather not marry. So it brings in certain fears of commitment later in life, because you have been in this movie where you were an observer and you saw this happen and you saw pain. And then in extensions, she talks about, being visited in school, and it's only one parent. So even emotional intelligence is not there. Whereby, you know, a dad and mom can say, okay, fine, things are not working between us, but can we just cooperate and coordinate so that we are able to, you know, be there for this child? Because we brought this child up into this world. This child did not say nileteni. We brought her into this world. So she becomes our sole responsibility.
Let me just ask you one question.
Yes.
Does this also applies to children who lost their dad, like through death? Yes.
When you know, loss and grief is a totally different ball game. However, the kind of help you get during that period where you lose your loved one is very, very critical. As psychologists, as counselors, we always talk about psychological first aid. That is the point where you're going through a certain shock. Like, dad is no more. So there are all these conflicting emotions. You're angry with God. You're angry with, you know, whoever caused it, whatever happened, you know, there's that projection of anger. But when you're able to go through that psychological first aid and you sort of like internalize the whole thing and, you know, heal from it, it will never bother you.
Yeah, but Venus, there are some cases where you get, okay, this single moms, they direct their frustration directly or indirectly to their children. Either maybe because she looks like the father and she,
I've also done it,
Exactly.
let me confess. Tunasemanga, we are all humans at the end of the day, before we get these titles. And I can relate with it because sometimes I know I've been angry at my husband and I project it to the kids. That is what we call transference, whereby you take emotions that were meant for someone else and you direct it to a weaker object. All right? So here in this case, in the family scenario, the weakest person is there is a child. So nimekasarishwa na my husband, and then I'm transferring now the emotions because I can't fight him. So I can only take this stress to my child. That is a common defense mechanism. However, let me say this. Most of us do things from a point of not being empowered. All right?
Yeah.
Because we are, as we say, as human beings, we are emotional, as women especially. So sometimes we do not know where to direct our emotions.
Yeah.
And because of that lack of knowledge, we end up traumatizing our own children for not knowing how to cope well during a divorce process, during you know, those seasons where we are having conflict. Because relationship also have stages.
Yeah.
Immediately after the honeymoon stage, after a couple, you know, ties the knot, comes the drama stage. And the drama stage can go up till 10 years. During that time, you fight about anything and everything. It's about the handkerchief, it's about the toothbrush, it's about, you're always fighting, all right? So during that stage, if you do not know how to process stuff and you have a child, that child will suffer.
So Sally, if I come to you and ask you about your experience when you're in school with other kids, were they talking smack about you, and was it getting into your skin? How did you manage to get through that?
I'm a closed person,
Yeah.
so I would rarely engage with other kids. I would withdraw myself, especially when it came to conversation about home. Whenever my classmates would talk about the holidays, just when we have opened school, I would very much avoid such conversations because I didn't have an exciting story to share, and I would just sit myself away from them and just do something to get my mind off the same conversations. And in as much as they try to engage me, I would just give very, very short answers to their questions, and I would pretty much avoid such conversations. Yeah.
All right. So, like right now, we're celebrating Father's Day.
Yeah.
How do you feel when others are celebrating it, and for you, you don't really relate with it well?
I wouldn't say it's a big issue because I believe I have outgrown that phase. Because when I was younger, it used to get to me, I wouldn't say I have an estranged relationship with my father, but once in a while I would send him a message, like just to remind him that in as much as we are not that close, I do think about him. And as Father's Day is approaching, I would just send him a simple text like Happy Father's Day.
And will he reply?
Yeah, he would.
Okay.
Sometimes he would, sometimes he would not, because he's too much into his career and his job. So yeah.
So, okay, growing up, maybe I come to you, Venus. Do you think there's a habit of where these children try to get another male figure in their lives to relate them to their father?
Well, let me say this and probably address the mothers, because at the point whereby there's the family breaks and now it moves from being a closed family into a single kind of setup, it's very, very important that the mother is able to identify someone who can step in and play that role. And I'll explain why. During these processes, and going by her story, there's always that fear of rejection. There's always those questions, unanswered questions, of why this person has chosen to let go of this person. This is my dad. Why has he chosen to walk away? So there are three things: the fear of rejection, the fear of commitment, the fear of being abandoned. Those are things that are side effects of being in a single family. All right. So at that point, it's very important for what we call critical intervention or immediate intervention, whereby she's able to be introduced to an uncle who can step in and play those daddy roles. Yeah.
Last words to fathers.
Of course, I want to say Happy Father's Day, and especially to my father, Mr. Joseph Macbeth Kituko.
Sally, last words to people watching you.
A father's shoes cannot be filled by just anyone. So we appreciate their efforts and how relentless they are. And we love them despite their flaws also. And we give them all our aspirations and our dreams. And they believe in us. Yeah, we love them unconditionally.
That's a wrap from us. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. The conversation continues at Switch TV Kenya on Twitter, at Jamie Macapolo. Until next time,